Here's your hosts of Truth Matters, Tom Donahue and Angeline Marie, seeking truth and promoting liberty.
Good day and welcome, America and beyond. I'm Tom Donahue for Truth Matters and Tom Donahue Reports, and my co-host, Angeline Marie, and I'm talking about Noem. Well, I had reported in the past, because it's an issue near and dear to me, is animal protection, rescue, and just the love of animals. And when Noem pressured her publisher to put into her book, that she killed her puppy and executed her goat to show that she was strong, that she could make tough decisions. Well, it looks like the nation itself, even Trump, took her behind the barn and did the noble thing in kind. So, yes, she's not only been taken to the barn and punished, but yes, she has been fired. She is gone, well, at least from that major role. So this venom and violence that she inflicted at her farm in North Dakota, the former governor of South Dakota, and for a multitude of reasons, even Republicans began to turn on her. And after her firing, you saw Newsmax, Fox News, and various other conservative hosts, outlets, anchors, commentators, correspondents pile on. So we now know that she was very unpopular. So here was a headline from Mediaite: "Good riddance. America unites to celebrate Kristi Noem getting fired by Trump." Here's Newsmax, one of the most conservative outlets. It says, "Noem's disastrous reign at DHS. Mayhem, waste, and abuse ends." Yes, that's Newsmax. Here was the New York Post, another very conservative news media outlet. "Noem wrecked. Noem's answer on sexual relations with Lewandowski was the final straw for Trump." Nancy Mace lauds Trump's firing of Noem as the right call after controversial ads. And we'll get to that in a moment. Trump directly refuted Kristi Noem's Senate testimony before her firing. Now, here was something that I posted earlier. This is before the firing, before this latest hearing. And this came from, it was published by Yahoo News that picked up the story. And it read, "Sick reason Trump tapped Ice Barbie Noem for top DHS job exposed. Killing her dog was considered an asset, showing her toughness." So Trump liked that. We know Trump does not have pets, doesn't like dogs, is not an animal lover. And anyone's not an animal lover, I don't really kind of like you either, okay? Let alone love. So now it's become Washington's greatest open secret that she had this affair ongoing, Corey Lewandowski. Now, remember, Corey Lewandowski was the first campaign manager for Trump, and, kind of a rough cut kind of guy. And remember, he got fired, and I don't know how many of you recall why he was fired, because he he bruised the arm of a Breitbart female reporter, which he went into denial, but she had the bruises. And I guess the actual documentation, witnesses that he did this to her because he didn't like the questions. Just like Trump went after Peter Doocy because he didn't like the question, and Hannity tried to brush it off. And Biden did the same thing, even worse with Peter Doocy. But there were several reasons that Kristi Noem was fired. She had this ad campaign. I believe it was in the range of $220 million, taxpayer dollars, to promote this ICE video with Ice Barbie being featured on her horse at Mount Rushmore. And even Senator Kennedy from Louisiana brought up the fact that this was a PR piece to bolster her image and get greater name recognition. And Ice Barbie's been doing this, with her cosplaying for quite some time. But I looked at earlier pictures of her, and yeah, she was reasonably attractive. And then she was actually very cute as time went on, with normal hair. But then she got the plastic surgery and the hair extensions and became Ice Barbie. I guess she really believes that she's this glamour queen and that she's entitled to have affairs. And there's no one disputing that. Matter of fact, she did not dispute, and she would not answer directly in testimony because they said it's not just about having an affair. It's the fact that Corey Lewandowski worked for her and they had this very close relationship, and she wanted her to go on the record and deny that there was a sexual relationship, that there was an extramarital affair, because it would affect the way it would be viewed in terms of someone being a government subordinate, working within your department. And she pulled a bonkers Bondi and didn't want to address directly for the record. And even that was a bridge too far for Trump. So you have the affair that she didn't want to address. And then you have the $220 million campaign to bolster her image and her visibility. And so Trump was given apparently false reporting on what was going on in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which he blames her because it made him look bad, believing that these protesters were domestic terrorists, when even certain Congress people brought up the fact that she actually is the domestic terrorist. And so she's firing pilots because they didn't transfer her blanket. She's wanting to do all this spending on ads to promote herself primarily. The larger picture with this was that Trump says he did not know that this campaign was being funded with taxpayer dollars. He didn't know about the gravity of the situation. She says he did. So that was another reason that Trump was infuriated, because every which way he turns, she's not being truthful. And it makes Trump look bad. Then Trump had to install Tom Homan to try to calm things down, to quell the disastrous situation that Noem created in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So you have all these factors that really boil down to not only a level of sheer incompetence, gross incompetence, but cover up, denials, and then lying to her president that she's supposed to be representing, and reflecting very poorly on Trump. There's been some reporting come out about the real reason that Kristi Noem's husband has stayed married to her after this humiliating testimony and allegations swirling about her affair with Corey Lewandowski. They say that the husband is a very loyal husband, a very forgiving husband, very Christian, and does not believe in divorce and believes marriage is forever. Even in light of this, and also he wants to keep the family together because of the kids. So some see this as weakness, others see this as strength as a husband in a marriage, which, it's up to you to decide how you view that. It also was reported that the Noem side of the family, her husband's side of the family, despise her and feel that he is being embarrassed, humiliated, and disrespected, and just is all around is not a very good wife and good person. So this political opportunist, now remember, going back to prior podcast of mine, I reported that Kristi Noem thought that by showing this toughness, although Trump seemed to, based on this latest article in the last week or so, appreciate that kind of toughness, but that toughness also, Trump decided to pivot from her as a VP candidate, and he was going towards Doug Burnham and then J.D. Vance because of Don Jr., Tucker Carlson, Peter Thiel, and various others that were pressing Trump to take on Vance as the VP. It actually backfired in the long run, but then he thought, well, if she's going to be this tough and we need a tough person to run immigration enforcement at DHS, and then, of course, he likes pretty women. And then, the part I left out, which is actually more important, and I did bring this up in a prior show, Trump was asked by the press, why did you select Kristi Noem for DHS? He said, well, Corey Lewandowski asked me for only one favor, and that favor was to hire Kristi Noem in that position. So, you just asked for a favor, even though he's had falling outs with Lewandowski. Trump's used to having this on-again, off-again, love-hate type relationship with many people. It is clear, without question, she was fired. and that disastrous performance at the hearing sealed the deal. I shouldn't say surprised, but I kind of am that the Republicans have piled on so strongly. I know some could say she's being scapegoated because it really goes back to Trump. Rarely do you see the Republicans pummel someone that is of their camp and someone that was in such a high role within the government. All these conservative news outlets, these conservative Republican congressmen and women that are just so elated. They're rejoicing over her firing. So sometimes you wonder, is there any hope left? And that's a little bit of hope. So there was an awakening there, and I'm appreciative that I've been on the trail, just like I've been on the Epstein files trail for some time. You abuse an animal, just not abuse, but she executed her dog and this goat and probably countless other farm animals because they don't cooperate. Now, there was a Republican congressman during the hearing that talked about the fact that he trained dogs and he trained animals. And he said that just a little simple training could have turned any behavioral issues with a puppy. And he said, and this is a normal puppy. He said, this is typical behavior. So he said she must have been illiterate or just that cruel to put down the dog for no justification, and as well as the goat. And these people bounce back. They rehabilitate their image. They go. Fox News accepts them back, and others, and she'll try to justify, and she'll try to re-explain and redo the image. I just hope that the damage is long lasting and good riddance. You murderous, heinous witch of a woman. Tom Donahue with some breaking news that we wanted to include in this program. Trump accuser, the minor, got a payoff from the Epstein estate, says the lawmakers that interviewed the Epstein accountant. So during this deposition, Richard Kahn, Donald Trump's accuser, was given a settlement from the Epstein estate. Wow, that's a bombshell. More to come on this. Another story that was breaking this week, Comer, high-ranking representative, Republican Party, says Trump DOJ in 2019 asked New Mexico officials to end the Epstein investigation. So we know now, factually, that it was Trump's DOJ that blocked and stopped the Epstein investigation at Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. More to come on this, too. Stay tuned. This is Tom Donahue for Truth Matters. Join me and Angeline Marie weekly Saturday nights as we shed light and insight on the controversies, cover-ups, and conspiracies. Visit the show website, truthmattersradio.net, truthmattersradio.net for show times, how to listen, and podcast downloads. That's truthmattersradio.net, truthmattersradio.net. And that's truthmattersradio.net.